Hello, good morning. Welcome to Kelowna Now Live. I'm Jason Mann with Jim Check, back after being away for a week. Good to see your
glad to be back.
Happy face.
It's a little cooler here for sure.
A little bit, hey? Yeah, just a little bit. We'll check out our 5-day weather forecast here shortly for ATB Wealth. First, we will check in on the headlines as we start our day and our week. BC Hydro has sent power to Alberta despite record-breaking demand.
Yeah, with record-breaking demand here at home, but Alberta definitely had some issues. They couldn't supply enough power. So with that sudden drop in temperatures across BC, electric utility usage surged in homes, and BC Hydro said they were ready, though. This past Friday, utility saw a record high level of peak hourly electricity demand, reaching 11,300 megawatts. For most people, what does that mean? Just means a lot. 30% more than what was needed a week prior. So that kind of shows you what was going on. So that demand surpassed a record that was set in December of 2022 because of the previous plan. BC Hydro said no imports were needed, and they were able to help supply grids in Alberta and the Pacific Northwest. That's the U.S. in the Pacific Northwest. Saskatchewan also supplied power to Alberta. Following that electrical grid alert in Alberta, where Premier Daniel Smith asked people in Alberta even to cut back on their usage and use candles and all kinds of things. BC did export about 200 megawatts to the Prairie Province. Saturday night's cold weather also led to an increase in power usage with an hourly demand of 11,000 megawatts, a number that comes close to the December 2022 record of 10,977. They do expect power demand to remain higher than average for a couple more days, but not to reach those record-breaking levels as we start to warm up.
Okay. Well, if January is starting to feel like a bit of a slog, it's called Blue Monday, the most depressing day of the year today. Welcome.
Welcome. Supposedly January 15th is this Blue Monday. People are getting back from their holidays. They got their bills, and they got maybe that New Year's hangover. Their resolutions aren't working out. All those things. And I guess a marketer created this and said, we should call it a Blue Monday. And they were trying to pitch stuff. It's actually a really good article written by Steve McNall. You go in there, and there's some cures in there. We won't go through all of them, but I'd recommend reading that article if you're suffering from the Blue Mondays.
All right.
People are saying Blue Mondays, one of the cures is to sit down with a mug of coffee, tea, or beer. Is that a little hair of the dog? Or what?
Depends on what's in it, I guess.
There you go.
All right. Well, more children's pajamas sold at Walmart recalled due to a choking hazard that you might be needing to be aware of.
Yeah, so parents should immediately stop using the George brand sleepers. George is their big brand at Walmart, and return them to Walmart for a full refund. Health Canada said the products, which are marketed for boys and girls, were unsafe because the foot grips could detach and create a choking or ingestion if the child puts them in their mouth. Walmart said it has received no reports of incidents and injuries as of January 5th. But more than 371,000 of the sleepers were sold. I mean, they sell a lot of stuff, don't they?
That's a lot of blowouts.
Were sold between December 2021 and January 2024. So if you have one of those sleepers with George branding, take it back to Walmart and stop using it.
And 2 people and a dog rescued over the weekend after falling into Okanogan Lake.
Yeah, after responding to a midday rescue from Okanogan Lake on Saturday, first responders reminding the public to be cautious around frozen bodies of water, especially as if the lake freezes at the edges, you go up further, it gets thinner and thinner, and then people just keep testing themselves. So around 3 p.m., they were called to Callamore Regional Park, where 2 people and their dog broke through the ice approximately 100 meters from shore. Luckily, bystanders had already pulled them out of the water and assisted with their extraction. And then they do want to leave a few reminders to people. Ensure your dogs and other pets are on a leash when around frozen bodies of water. Shoreline ice is weak and can, in this case, result in accidents through pet exploring. If you're planning on ice fishing, follow posted signage and know ahead of time the safe thickness for the activity prior to venturing onto the ice. And let someone know where you're going. And always wear a personal flotation device. That's a good thing, too. And you've witnessed somebody falling through the ice, call 911. Stay on solid ground and continue to watch personnel until trained and equipped personnel conduct the rescue. I mean, lots of people probably feel inclined to help though too, right? So
Yeah.
you know what I mean. But best thing to do is try to stay off of there. Like like the smaller lakes will probably freeze better, like Wood Lake or something like that, right? Going out on Okanogan
Or Duck Lake. You could stand in Duck Lake
ones,
at least.
Yeah.
Unemployment rate in the Kootenays now among the highest in Canada, and
not good for that area. Outside the Maritimes and the Territories, it had the highest unemployment rate in the Kootenay, which is now at 7.1% as of December 2023. 1 year ago I had one of the lowest at 4.3. So that includes the areas of Nelson, Castlegar, Trail, and Grand Forks. So that's not good for the Kootenay area. Beautiful area, though.
It is. I do find it's been economically vulnerable
compromised
over the decades, but
it has for sure. I grew up in that area,
and
it was a lot more buzzing back then. So it seems like everybody wants to live in a major metropolitan city or center, right? Like Kelowna, Vancouver, and stuff like that, as opposed to, and that's one of the things that we talked about earlier about housing. Lots available there, lots of like housing, but yet people don't seem to want to. So there has to be maybe some incentives to have people move into those areas.
And boy, having grown up in a small town myself, I certainly do appreciate the small town vibes for raising a family. All right, moving on. BC collected DNA from 150 people using T samples from a fake company.
Yeah, we're not going to go too far into the story. This is another good one to read. Really long story done by Canadian Press, actually. So this is that case we talked about quite a bit with that 13-year-old girl that was murdered. So how they narrowed it down to this person was the police disguised themselves as tea marketer to secretly collect DNA from about 150 Kurdish community members. So homicide officers said the DNA was obtained in 2018 at a Kurdish New Year's celebration in Burnaby, where police handed out free tea samples in numbered cups that were later swabbed for DNA in a sting that identified a brother of the suspect. Wow. That led to the arrest of Ibrahim Ali, who was convicted in December of first-degree murder of the girl, whose name is still protected by the publication ban. Ali is due in court on Monday to fix a date of sentencing. So, again, go read that story. And there's a lot in that story. But, there's Megan McDermott, the policy director at BC Civil Liberties Association, said she was stunned to hear about the operation, calling it unacceptable and reprehensible if the police failed to obtain a warrant for it. So, again, go read that story on KelownaNow.com.
That's quite interesting, isn't it? And a long story it is. Well, they check on the Kelowna Road and area roads for CSN Collision Center. Extreme cold warning for the Coquihalla-Okanogan Connector and Highway 1. We do have more extreme cold warnings issued for the BC interior, and the Environment Canada saying it could feel more like minus 35 along those routes. And a prolonged period.
That's the Eagle Pass and Rogers Pass, right, when you're in the top of the mountains there. Again, another reason to pack that safety kit, which includes blankets, candles, some power bars, some fruit,
and it's expected to be cold and windy,
boots, for that kind of stuff, right? Make sure your cell phones are charged and all that stuff, right? And good winter tires, as usual, right? So, so it's cold up there. Temperatures between minus 20 and minus 30 in combination with light to moderate winds will create that wind chill of about minus 35. Travelers have been warned to watch over symptoms related to extreme cold, including shortness of breath, chest pain, and muscle pain, and numbness in fingers and toes, right? So there you go. Be safe out there.
And in 5 things, what do we have for our 5 things? There we are.
So they're saying YouTube is slowing load times for users that block ads. There's quite a few ad blockers out there.
Oh.
And one of those is like using DuckDuckGo.
Right.
So that's a ad blocker. So I guess they're accusing YouTube of saying, hey, if you don't want to read our ads, here you go. And the second thing,
must be a growing issue.
Hit a U.S. owned ship. That can't be good as tensions escalate in the Red Sea there. I know that Tesla shut down their Gigafactory in Berlin for 2 weeks because they can't get parts, because now the ships have to go all the way around the Horn of Africa. So
that's an impact.
And then some snowfall. The Buffalo Bills have asked fans to come out and shovel some snow. And they're giving you about $20 an hour and some free food, or in exchange for shoveling snow. It looks like a lot of snow. We play football, rain or shine. And a volcano destroys houses in Iceland. You can go ahead and take a look at that. There's a nice video to watch there. And an Israeli player charged after expressing solidarity with hostages. That was in Turkey. So there you go. You want to do the weather?
Let's do it. Weather is for ATB Wealth. Realize your vision of wealth at atb.com/wealth Kelowna. Mix of sun and cloud today. And, well, minus 13 is pretty chilly, but it's actually, I guess, starting to warm up, isn't it? It'll feel maybe a little milder than the last few days. And some high cloud. We'll see a little bit of sun breaking throughout the day. And, again, let's just take a look at those road conditions. This is going to be your connector summit. And then that is heading the other direction.
That's Rogers Pass.
Rogers Pass. And then I think there's the top of the Coquihalla there. So lots of snow on the highways, just to be mindful as you're heading out and doing some traveling. And our forecast for the rest of the week, well, it'll be a lot like today, tomorrow, a little bit warmer and a little bit cloudier, I guess you could say, with a high of minus 11. And then as we cruise through the middle of the weekend towards the weekend, again, progressively getting warmer.
Downright toasty.
Downright toasty. Downright toasty. Snow flurries and snow expected, though, for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And temperatures kind of going from minus 10 to minus 4 on
One of the things in winter you can expect, clear skies, cold. Cloudy skies is like a blanket.
It's very predictable.
There you go.
Like death and taxes. Okay, so that's the way things are shaping up on the weather front.
So I was at the CES all last week, and we're going to do a show around 2 o'clock and show you some of the cool things that I saw down there.
Took some video?
Took a lot of video, yeah.
All right.
There's some really interesting things down there. So around 2 o'clock, we'll do...
At CES, not everybody can get into CES. You have to have some accreditation.
So you have to be an industry attendee, like you have to be in the industry to buy, or you have to be media. Or an exhibitor.
And then what percentage of the stuff that you saw, and I know we'll get into this later, but just is coming to market now or is more futuristic?
I think some of it's already in market and a lot of it's coming. One of the cool things I've seen just for most homeowners that I've seen a few manufacturers have is a washer and dryer all-in-one.
Okay.
So no move-in stuff from a washer to a dryer. So one machine and uses less power.
All right. Well, I'd be
That's pretty
interested
interesting,
to learn more
right?
about
So like a $25,000 toilet too.
Who loves that job of taking wet, sloggy clothes and putting them into the dryer?
Well, it's like forgetting though too, right? Because sometimes if you leave that in the washer for like 2 days and all of a sudden it smells like a wet dog, and then you got to redo it. So that would be. I think a lot of people would probably, especially if your washer and dryer are on the fritz.
Yeah, and not to mention space that you'd save.
Space too, for sure. Space. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Definitely.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us. We'll be back to have that
2
discussion.
o'clock. We'll see you for the rundown of the Consumer Electronics Show. Lots of AI and lots of robotics too, right? Lots of really, really cool things. So.
Okay. And news coming up at 4 as well.
All right. Nice to be back.